From the firelands of east, of which dragons sleep ties, to the eternal grip of endless ice, where secrets of AI machines lies.
We have 3 contenders to take its place on the throne. Forbidden magic of Oppo Find X7 Ultra, one of the best, if not the best smartphones for taking portraits, ultimate secrets of AI machinery of Vivo X100 Ultra, and now the furnace of the eternal dragon fire, Xiaomi 14 Ultra. Previously on Game of Phones, we have reviewed each of these phones, and even saw the clash of titans for the battle of the camera phone crown. Now it is time to compare these 3 ultimate machines and decide which of them deserves not only the place of the kings, but a place in our heart and wallet. All 3 of these phones have equally environmentally friendly packages, with cable, ultra-fast charging bricks in the box with gun technology, as well as protection cases and pre-applied protection film on the screen. This is the list that we can expect from the phone in 2024. Unboxing experience not exactly mind-blowing and satisfying, but at least good and gets all checkmarks. Nothing special here. Design – very subjective topic. I can't objectively point out the winner, but can point out the strong parts. Xiaomi 14 Ultra has full eco leather back with metal flat borders, unique screen design that is flat, but edges are round for comfort of use. Vivo X100 Ultra has full metal fill body, which is matte, but still refracts lots of light in small rainbow dots. Hard to describe, but it feels very nice, both for the eye and hand. Screen is round waterfall, borders are metal, and has small facet cuts. Oppo Find X7 Ultra is somewhere in the middle. It has top part that is similar to Vivo, and bottom part is eco leather. Screen has waterfall design, as well as full metal borders. They are sleek and round. Nothing pierces in the hand. One of the best phones to use for my hand. It has mute switch on the side, and you can slide it in second position to turn on VIP mode, where it removes trackers, camera, microphone and GPS. Camera bump is large on all, but it greatly helps with hold. I can place finger underneath for support, but I will never use any device without protection, so it does not make much of a difference. That makes them somewhat equal, as well as set of design features. Nothing stands out, the same as in previous years. No headphone jacks, no double USB-Cs or Thunderbolt ports, just a basic well-known design. Specs and price. All 3 phones have all the bells and whistles of flagship market. Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, 16 GB of fast RAM, 5G, Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 5.4, IP68 water resistance, USB 3.2, and only Xiaomi is Gen 2, 10 GB. But no external storage expansion, no audio jack or anything breakthrough. If I want to find half a terabyte storage in my area, which is grey market, I can find Oppo for roughly $900, Vivo for $1,050 and Xiaomi for $950. I do not feel like this is a very big difference to focus on it, but maybe these prices will be different for your market and area, that can affect buying decision. Please make calculations for your region. Screen. All phones, when looking side by side, are equally great, very bright, very colorful, with 120Hz and LTPO technology that is smooth. Can't see any noticeable and obvious ghosting. For everyday use, they are all great. What can be very important for a person? Behavior on the direct sunlight. And here, it is not an easy task to show this on camera, especially with protection film on top that reflects even more light. But I can see that Vivo is slightly brighter, just slightly. I can see more details. Auto brightness behaves like this. Both Oppo and Vivo give you slightly darker than needed image, while Xiaomi is always brighter than needed. I feel like this is because Xiaomi is global version and other 2 are Chinese firmware devices. Just an assumption. Maybe not very important, but I use sunglasses a lot. This planet is way too harsh for my sensitive eyes. All screens will be affected by a polarizing effect, but Vivo construction will give you dark green tint when looking to it in portrait orientation, while others in album. It, of course, depends on the glasses and coatings. Not like this changes anything, but people asked me if I get this effect. Here it is. It won't change my choices of glasses. We'll just ignore side effect. The most important here for me, they all are okay on the sun, and I do not have eye strains from OLED pulsation above 10% brightness levels. Battery and charging. Oppo has 5000 mAh battery, Vivo 5500. Xiaomi on global version has 5000 and on Chinese ROM it has 5300 mAh. Oppo has 100W fast charging, 50W wireless, Vivo has 80W by wire and 30W wireless, and Xiaomi has 90W by wire and whopping 80W wireless. On paper, it is back and forth, and one may say Xiaomi wins, but let's make some reality checks. Here, all 3 phones have 10% battery left. Let's charge them to full. Oppo is going fast, leading the way. Here where I noticed that Xiaomi uses 90 watt charging and it has 90 watt max mode, where you need to press a button to activate it. But we still can see that it is barely manages to keep up with Vivo, who uses only 80 watts and have high battery capacity. Vivo have reached 50%. Let's see the temperatures. And here we can clearly see the difference. Vivo and Oppo are a couple degrees higher and can even reach 44-45 degrees in some rare occasions, while Xiaomi, even in max mode, tries to stay as close to 40 degrees as possible. I do not know the reason, but guess because of EU regulations that demands devices to have heat limits. Oppo is just unstoppable. Sometimes, when room temperatures are cool, I can easily get 0 to 100 in 25 minutes. Very useful. Xiaomi and Vivo go in close, but Vivo gets some edge and takes deserved second place. Maybe if I pressed max button on Xiaomi or I had Chinese version, the results could be different, but Vivo goes equally fast with lower speeds and high capacity. As for the battery life itself, let's charge them for a couple of seconds more and leave overnight to check battery drain. The first late morning the results were interesting. My wife took Vivo while I was asleep and tried to activate hotspot Wi-Fi for a minute without a success, because I took SIM cards away. But we can see that Xiaomi lost 7%, kinda bad. This is because of difference in Chinese versus global market. In China, Google is banned and phones restrict background use of apps, leaving for you to decide what apps you want to get notifications from, while on global devices you have everything activated from the get-go, both useful as well as bloatware and spyware. So you need to restrict everything by yourself to stop background data and energy use. I will try to set up some apps. Let's see the second day. And both Oppo and Vivo has 100%. Xiaomi gets 99%. Big improvement. Midday, after some tests, Oppo 93, Vivo 92, Xiaomi 85. Later this day, 57 on Oppo, 57 on Vivo, 39 on Xiaomi. After all day of video and photo stress tests, late evening, Oppo 31%, Vivo 28%, Xiaomi is 14%. Both Oppo and Vivo were almost every time neck and neck, but you really need to check apps permissions on Xiaomi global version to prolong battery life. By the way, all devices has smart system to try and stop charging while you sleep to prolong battery life, but only Xiaomi has hard stop, where your device never charges itself for more than 80%. This is very good, because you can prolong health of your batteries this way, if you try not to go below 20% and not to go over 80%. Very chunky checkpoint for your karma, Xiaomi. Heat and temperatures. In normal use, all of them are manageable, but Xiaomi tends to be slightly warmer when using heavy apps and filming videos. Also, Xiaomi had one occasion where in 4K 60 fps I got haze on the lens, but the problem went away completely. I never faced it once. Some people recommend to open SIM tray and start filming 4K 60 to remove any possible moisture from inside. Speakers and sound. It is hard to describe, but I will try. Oppo feels like has slightly more bass and highs, trying to sound louder, while Vivo and Xiaomi focus on mid-tones. I'm adding iPhone in comparison, because Apple usually has solid set of speakers inside their products that we can take as a good indicator to test against. Please, listen to yourself. OS and features. Oppo uses ColorOS, Vivo has OriginOS, while Xiaomi has their new HyperOS. To make this section shorter, I will only tell the biggest difference that I found while testing these devices. My obvious favorite here is Vivo, because it has very straightforward access to one-hand mode. Both Oppo and Xiaomi has this weird mode where you have to awkwardly swipe down. Sometimes it does not work, and all bottom part of the screen just disappears, while side part is still out of reach. On Vivo you just need to swipe and hold, and depending on the side you will get this small window where you can easily touch any part needed, move and resize everything. No BS, just swipe and go. Also, I find control center of Vivo slightly more feature-rich, but only slightly. The same goes to side panels. Vivo has ease of use, while on others you have this floating part on the one side. All of them has apps cloning, but Oppo and Xiaomi has implementation of system cloning, or another name of it, double space, to have separate private set of apps and gallery, like a second phone in one. But I find this very niche, because every time you swap, you lose Bluetooth connection for a while, making this transition not smooth at all. I still find cloning apps or even second phone with me way more convenient. Xiaomi is my favorite in terms of vibration and sound of the system, but not for a mile. All three phones use latest Android 14 and highly customizable. You can make them similar or change for your personal taste. Of course, being a global device, Xiaomi has full Google support for Android Auto, which I find clunky in the first place, and I better use external system or even tablet, rather than built-in, ridiculously outdated and restrictive infotainment screens inside even expensive and luxury modern cars. And of course, ability to connect all smartwatches on Wear OS. By the way, I could connect Galaxy Watch 4 Classic on Vivo no problem, but on Oppo, nothing helped. By the way, while Xiaomi has better USB-C, I faced one problem with external OTG Thunderbolt SSD connection. On Vivo I can just connect it with Thunderbolt cable. On Oppo for some odd reason it only worked with OTG dongle. And even more oddly, Xiaomi could not connect to it at all. OTG was turned on in the menu system. Of course, if you connect it directly on Windows PC, it won't matter. For this point in time, I use and test Macintosh PC, and I can't just connect devices this easily. Macintosh laptop just can't recognize phones. You need to organize MTP virtual servers with clunky apps. It just do not have that luxury, and transferring via 10 gigabits cable is way more fast than even Wi-Fi 7 airdrop from Android. But I guess this is very specific problem. Just wanted to point out my observations in this scenario. Maybe it has something to do with this brand of 4TB SSD and enclosure. And we won't surprise anyone when we say that we got the most important part for the most people, especially on these devices – cameras. Let's start with hardware differences. Both Oppo and Xiaomi has quad system, while Vivo has triple cameras, but it uses newest and largest in the world 200 megapixels telephoto module that can even fight against two modules in other phones alone. All other camera sensors on all these three phones uses 50 megapixels, all have OIS optical image stabilization outside of the ultrawide. Here is the main differences. Xiaomi has more wide and more bright ultrawide. Both telephotos on Xiaomi has very close focus distance and are bright, 1.8 for 75mm and 2.5 on 120mm. And Oppo feels like outsider, because second telephoto module has very dark 4.3 aperture and sometimes can't be used in low light scenarios. But this is only on paper and tells nothing. On paper, Scientologists and marketologists can paint us anything. How it behaves in reality is what really means for us. To see what each phone has different in terms of software, please watch individual review for each phone. To save time, I will point out only strong points. For the software part, I feel like Xiaomi and Vivo is superior, and Vivo taking elite. More modes and customization, AI modes that can change weather of the scene. Sadly, this is online-only feature for now, but very fun and represents our potential future of new AI photography modes, where we dictate a camera scripts and new reality of our imagination. Alright, let's start with ultrawide. I will try my best to make this review as much compressed as possible, because we have tons of examples in the village, in the city, at night, at evening, moving subjects, or RAW files. Today we will explore RAW capabilities of these cameras. And here you can see that Xiaomi has 12mm and f1.8. On paper it should be better than Oppo or Vivo. We can see that it is a lot wider. Very acceptable results, but I feel like Vivo on ultrawide do not have that much details. Xiaomi is overprocessing it. I feel like manufacturers need to focus on this aspect of these cameras. Ultrawide modules need some love. Here we can look at the 1-inch sensors. Oppo has 1.8, Vivo 1.75, and Xiaomi actually has variable aperture. It goes from f1.6 to f4, and I can see a trend here. Oppo tries to give us a less contrasty image, while Xiaomi, on the other hand, tries to give us a very contrasty image, and I find Vivo to be somewhere in the middle. I'm not talking about brightness levels, but actual contrast. Oppo is very nice phone for taking pictures of living organisms and faces of humanoids. We can throw Sony camera in the mix. This is ZV-10 and Sigma 2.8 lens. Together they cost $1,300. It is $300 more expensive than any of them and $400 more expensive than Xiaomi and Oppo. Vivo looks like has a least amount of details on one in this situation, but I like colors and contrast levels a lot more on Vivo. Here is 3x zoom on Oppo, 3.7 on Vivo, and 3.2 on Xiaomi. It is the brightest among them all. And here again I see that Xiaomi gives us very contrasty look. Oppo is opposite in this situation and Vivo is somewhere in the middle. Let's add Sony ZV-10 and check level of details. Sometimes Xiaomi gives you these magenta colors. Maybe it is because I'm using Leica Vibrant in most of the situation. You can actually choose it to be Leica Authentic. After my review of Xiaomi 14 Ultra, I decided that I like Leica Authentic a lot more in terms of portraits and faces. Here is second telephoto lens on Oppo, 6x zoom. It has dark f4.3 aperture. Vivo uses crop from 3.7x and Xiaomi has second dedicated telephoto 120mm f2.5. Let's add Sony here. Also, I want to check AI retouching and facial reconstruction, 1-inch main sensors. Oppo has just a basic slider, you can't control literally anything, and I find results beyond 30% too fakey. Vivo impressed me the most when I was testing it, and now I want to see how Xiaomi stacks up against. Xiaomi is doing the great also, but only Vivo has full control. You can control nose, chins, forehead, lips, eyes, size of the jaw. You can control almost anything and make result for your own liking. And I find 30% on Oppo in this situation to be too smooth. It does not look natural. .3x on Oppo, 3.7 on Vivo, and 3.2 on Xiaomi. You know, this is first time, after hundreds of shots, when Vivo gave us some of these weird artifacts. For some reason, it could not handle these details. This is the first time I saw these results, but I feel like we can deal with it with a couple of clicks. I know lots of photographers, fashion photographers, some wedding photographers who, I'm not joking, spend a couple of hours a day trying to achieve this plastic fantastic look. They spend all their life on it and paid poorly in return. So I find this AI retouching and facial reconstruction very interesting mode, because you can just achieve this result in one click of a button. There are some Photoshop scripts and so on. Here you go, I spent only 1 minute and completely removed this, but this is first time I faced it in hundreds of different photos in different scenarios. Xiaomi again decided to go magenta in this like a vibrant mode. Ultrawide, this is stress test of HDR, direct sunlight to our subject. It was almost impossible to look on the sun. It gives us very harsh highlights, and we can see how they will deal with skin and these spots on face, on grass, and so on. Once again, Xiaomi is the widest here, while Oppo and Vivo looks identical. It is back and forth. Sometimes Xiaomi gives you more details, sometimes on situations like this, on the fabric, we can see that Vivo gives you texture. Main 1-inch sensors. Hard to tell without zooming in. Let's add some Sony in the mix. We can see that even though Sony has a large APS-C sensor, it is twice as large and you can place almost 3 1-inch sensors inside APS-C, but it still struggles with shadows and with harsh highlights. I really tried my best to preserve skin texture and try to remove some of them. Here for some reason, again, I see Xiaomi gives you less texture on the fabric, while skin details are fine, so it all depends on the computational algorithms. 3x zooms, I see that Vivo struggles little bit with these harsh highlights, while Xiaomi somewhat blue and magenta. I won't be too strict to the Vivo for leaving these highlights because this is extreme situation, this test can break even large APS-C sensors. This is a test of second telephoto models. Vivo has digital crop on 3.7x. I want to dive deep on each sensor of these new smartphones because these all phones are not just phones. I feel like they are real cameras with smartphone capabilities. I think that it is a breaking point in photography in general, not only smartphone photography. Line is blurred and we will see only advancements from this time. I really want to understand what they can and what they can't do right now for the future reviews of the smartphones that will come maybe in 5 years. We will add Sony ZV-10 here, the camera that I really want to sell. I am not pleased with the results in 2024 at all. What's the point of me right now for having this camera that is more expensive than any of these phones and give me mediocre results? If this is a not paid job, no way I'm gonna take APS-C camera with me for my general use. By the way, these smartphones are insane macro photography cameras as well. Of course, if you consider price and form factor in this equation. In the past, all smartphones could do macro photography with ultra-wide lens, but modern smartphones can do this with telephoto models. Oppo is little bit outsider in this situation. You need to use more focal distance and it will lead for more camera shake and less pleasant experience in macro photography. While for example on Xiaomi you can do almost the same result with just 120mm telephoto model, and both Xiaomi and Vivo can zoom in a lot closer. I don't know what happened here, but Xiaomi overexposed everything. And on Oppo it still tries, but you need to zoom in 3 times more. This will result in more camera shake and less pleasant shooting experience. But results are still okay. Here you can see we can go closer with Vivo and Xiaomi, but Oppo tries its best, result is still good, but it was a lot harder for me to get this result. And actually we can see that Xiaomi is very aggressive with AI models. You can actually turn this feature off. By default it is on when you zoom in that far, but even if you turn off this feature I still find results too aggressive. But this is so cool that we can go from these telephoto models to these. We're starting to see these dots. This is spider web. We can see individual hairs, drop of water, Oppo struggles, as well as me while trying to hold the device straight, and actually go even closer. As you can see, Oppo gave us better result than Vivo in situation like this. And I can even say that on this particular photo, it maybe looks better than Xiaomi, but Xiaomi obviously have lots of contrast. Now please attention, people with arachnophobia. I want to show you this small little spider. This spider is only 2mm. Look, this is my finger and this small dot is this spider. I want to test macro capabilities of these phones on it. If you are afraid of spiders, please skip to the next part. There will be chapters in this YouTube video. If not, it will be in the description or pinned comment. So please be careful. I will zoom in on this spider. Don't be afraid. It is very small. It can't do harm to you. This is second telephoto, 6x zoom on Oppo, 3.7 on Vivo, and 75mm on Xiaomi. This is the first telephoto lens. It's hard to tell, but I feel like Xiaomi did a better job, because we can see individual hairs. Also, we can see this spider web, where on Vivo it is very blurred. And on Oppo I can't see anything. Here, more zoom, I tried to focus my best. If you can see that on Oppo it is not in focus, and this is the best result that I got in a situation like this. I made multiple photos, maybe 10 of them, and all of them are out of focus. This is the best result out of all. Actually, Vivo is very good, and Xiaomi struggled. No hairs at all on Oppo, lots of small details of its carapace. Also, I want to mention that on Xiaomi it was very hard to focus. Most of the time on Xiaomi I spent trying to make it focus on this spider. It always went to the wall, to the window, anywhere but not on this spider. So in situation like this, Xiaomi was the worst in terms of shooting experience. This is very extreme zoom, 2800mm, both on Oppo and Xiaomi. On Vivo it was a lot easier to take focus. It was a lot more enjoyable shooting experience. It was a lot easier for me to find this spider on the screen, and it locked stabilization better than Xiaomi and than Oppo. If Xiaomi locks focus, it's actually better, but on Vivo it is a lot more easier to find the object or subject that you want to film. But it is actually crazy that you can film this 2mm spider with just a phone from your pocket and see the small hairs and even texture of his carapace. Don't know how about you, but this is mind-blowing. Here I want to zoom in on the cells of my skin. Here it is almost the same focal distance, and it is the closest I could go with Oppo, Vivo, Xiaomi. It uses first 75mm telephoto model. This is extreme 60x zoom. We already can see individual cells of the skin, but here we can see that Xiaomi is overusing its AI models. Result is too aggressive, too harsh, lots of highlights and shadow dots that were not present in reality. But still, this is so cool that we can do this. This is just small part of the finger. Want to remind you. Here is 100x. On Xiaomi we still have 60x, but what is going on? I like Oppo a lot. We can see, look here, this is skin cells. You can take pictures a lot closer on Vivo, but you should not do this. I love these modern smartphones. Here is a texture of the fabric on these smartwatches. Let's zoom in. This is 20x zoom. This is 60x zoom. On Vivo we can go a lot closer, but maybe you shouldn't do this every time. On 100x you are getting abstract art, but we can see each individual threads of this smartwatch strap. We went from this to this. Not bad, just for walkie-talkie. And of course you can use these telephoto models not only to see macro world, but zoom in to far away distant objects. Once again, Xiaomi uses 12mm. We get a lot more in the shot. I like details on Vivo a lot more. And here as well, we can see Oppo gives you more natural result, while both Vivo and Xiaomi uses AI algorithms. Xiaomi gives you more water painting, while Vivo tries to actually represent reality. Maybe in the foreground it is debatable, but on the background, in situations like this, for example forest, darkness, I like Vivo a lot more. It gives you actual details, you can see these trees, leaves, while on Oppo, yeah, it is more authentic, but I can't see anything. 1-inch sensors. I feel like Oppo is less saturated here, while Vivo is the brightest among all of them. What I like about Vivo a lot is color separation. Hard to tell. I like colors more on Vivo, but we have some movement and shot on these plants. I feel like Vivo uses algorithms better and give you a lot more details in this shadow area, like here, here, and in the areas like this. This is just nitpicking, pixel peeping, and my subjective analysis. Please pick the colors for your personal taste. 3x zoom on Oppo, 3.7 Vivo, 3.2 Xiaomi. Very hard to understand without zooming in that far, but I feel like brightness levels and white balance is better on Vivo. Xiaomi is second, and it is more aggressive with AI models. I can see more defined edges on Vivo, while Oppo gives you soft look. Second telephoto models, 6x, Vivo uses digital crop from 3.7. I feel like Oppo actually sharper, but it gives you this dark image, so you can't fully embrace the powers of this telephoto module. I actually prefer Vivo in this situation. 10x zoom. Once again, I can see that in this contrasty situation Oppo is darker, Vivo is brightest, and Xiaomi is somewhere in the middle. Here it uses second telephoto module. Actually, Oppo is a lot sharper, but you can't see all these details because of dark image. And we can play with zoom more. 60x zoom, Vivo is a lot brighter, but we get this halation effect and loss of contrast on the edges. I feel like Oppo is the sharpest among them, but what's the point if we can't see anything? Here, let's test some moving subjects. By the way, they are very different in this regards. For example, on Oppo we have dedicated action button in the photo tab. It prioritizes higher shutter speed and it uses all models from ultrawide till 6x zoom. But there is no burst mode, where you can press the button and it will shoot, for example, 20 or 100 photos in a row. And it felt like Oppo was the least snappy phone among them all. Vivo, on the other hand, have dedicated snapshot mode, and you can't use your ultrawide model in this mode. In the photo tab, if you press and hold the shutter button, it will make 20 photos in the row, but image quality will be affected. Also, you can't use ultrawide model in this burst mode. On Xiaomi, in photo tab, you have a dedicated motion button, where it will give priority to the shutter speed, and it works with all models, from telephoto to ultrawide. If you press and hold shutter button, it will make 100 photos in a row, in all 4 models, ultrawide as well, but image quality will be affected too. I find that Xiaomi is the snappiest phone among them all. But let's zoom in and see if we get some weird artifacts. Whoa, Vivo has some weirdness. I feel like its AI model confused cloud with my shirt. Looks like I am dissolving with these skies and leaving this sinful world behind. But actually, level of details is good. Also, I want to test how the burst mode will affect the image quality. On Oppo we only have fast motion button, on Vivo we have none on ultrawide model, and Xiaomi uses this shutter priority mode as well as burst mode. As we can see, on Xiaomi on ultrawide model we lose a lot of details if we are using this fast burst mode. If we look at this roof and the image in general, we lost almost every possible small detail. So use this mode with great precision, only if you really need it. This is main 1-inch sensors, the same motion priority mode. The most important part here is to look at the weird funky artifact on the contrasting edges, as well as image quality in general. Oh, we actually found one on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. If you look closer, you can see double edges on the hand, double edges on the shirt, and with this metal part. In terms of image quality, I feel like Oppo does a great job. Vivo is sharper, it has more small fine details, especially in the shadow area, while Xiaomi tends to give this contrasty look. We lose some details in the shadow. Look at this part, at this roof. Vivo gives you more details with its local AI model. And here we can see Vivo is a lot more crisp. We can actually get an idea of the texture of this old painting on this old building. And quickly let's test a burst mode in 1-inch sensor. Yes, I can see that we are losing slight amount of details, but what about artifacts? And actually here Vivo got some funky stuff. And of course Oppo with its double edge. But in burst mode you won't get these artifacts every time, so you can choose different picture from this burst session. Both on Vivo and Xiaomi we have some loss of details, image became soft, but it feels like Xiaomi lost more details than Vivo. Second situation, running moving subject, ultrawide. Hard to judge anything, image quality is not great on all of them, maybe sky, you know. But it depends on your frame. If you move phone in the different direction, exposure will change, so it's very hard to comment here. But I feel like Xiaomi did better job, but we lose some shadow details also. Hard to judge, let's move further. Here one more example, this is 1-inch sensor, this is burst on Vivo, remember Oppo do not have any burst at all. This is ultrawide on Xiaomi, burst, and 1-inch sensor also burst. You can see how image quality degrades a lot, so I won't recommend you to use burst mode on ultrawide on Xiaomi, only if it is necessary. On 1-inch sensor you can get away with it, but still, I don't find image quality that great. On Vivo we have this weird interpolation, like line skipping, sort of. On Xiaomi also, but lines are vertical. If you are using this burst mode, prepare to get some weird artifacts. In this test I am more interested to see telephoto models. 3x on Oppo, 3.7 on Vivo, and the first telephoto, 75mm, 3.2 on Xiaomi. I feel like in terms of taking photos of moving subjects, smartphones have a long way to go, because we are still losing lots of details, dynamic range, and phones struggles to find a focus. By the way, this is not a single occasion with Xiaomi, almost all photos from this model are out of focus. And Vivo confuses with exposure. Let's quickly check burst mode. Vivo for some reason in burst mode decides to shoot with very slow shutter speed, that's why we have this motion blur. In normal shooting mode it is very overexposed, but details are still nice. And on Xiaomi, on the motion mode, it lost focus more than I liked, and in the burst mode, image quality degrades a lot, but I feel like it is usable. It is a lot better than no focus at all, motion blur is unusable too, and here overexposed image on Vivo, but we still have lots of details. If manufacturers get this burst mode right, it will be the final nail in the coffin of the budget conventional cameras. This is second telephoto models on Oppo, on Xiaomi, and digital crop on Vivo. Once again, Vivo uses slow shutter speed for some reason, and I am not very pleased with the results. They are still miles and miles better than even phones of couple of past years. But here what manufacturers can do. Conventional cameras, such as Canon, Panasonic, Sony, Nikon and so on, they have eyes, facial and even person recognition. If subject is moving, it can recognize arms, legs, it can recognize that it is human, that it is bird, that it is cat and even insects. So smartphone manufacturers, you need to implement exactly this in your cameras. So I will guarantee you, this will be the final death toll to the budget camera market. And of course, I shot everything in automatic mode. If you, for example, choose to shoot in RAW and control your shutter speed by yourself, you will get a lot better results. But as I can see for now, there is no control over the autofocus areas and subject recognition, for example, animal recognition, insect recognition, bird recognition, human recognition, and so on. Conventional cameras have this for years already. Sony, Canon, Nikon, Panasonic, Fujifilm, Olympus, and so on. Every one of them have this implementation in some way or another. Vivo and Xiaomi, Oppo do not have any burst mode at all, and here we can actually see that image quality instantly became VHC, but still I see large potential here. Xiaomi actually looks very nice, but we have movement in the frame because of optical image stabilization and bad use of shutter speed in this burst mode. If you take control by yourself, I feel like results will be infinitely better if you shoot in the Pro mode with RAW capabilities and choose proper shutter speed. We have all needed capabilities for the smartphones to beat conventional cameras in terms of sport photography and fast-moving subjects. We need two things, autofocus and subject recognition, and try to fix some bugs in the computing algorithms. I made thousands of photos of fire on all these phones, in all possible modes. I will not take your time with it, I will point out that only on Oppo I faced this weird, funky stuff. We can see some interpolation, line skipping, and these outlines. Because fire is unpredictable, it moves fast, and only on Oppo I found these artifacts pretty regularly, while on Vivo and on Xiaomi I never faced such stuff once. This is just an example on Oppo. You can see that it has some weirdness, these steps, lines, some weird double contours, so this must be the first focus of the manufacturers to remove weirdness on fast-moving objects. There are several ways what you can do about it, and of course try to focus more on the hardware side. Here is 1-inch sensors. It has the least amount of problems. It has the least amount of problems with its sensor. But even here we have some problems in the very fast-moving subjects. For example, on Oppo everything is fine, everything is in focus, but on Vivo we have some lines, like interpolation. The same goes to Xiaomi, especially here you can see some lines. This should be one of the main priorities now. And one more problem that you can face is rolling shutter. On 3.7x, Vivo looks actually nice. For some reason, 1-inch sensor have problems, but 3.7 do not. Everything is clear, but on Xiaomi we can see rolling shutter. This metal part bends like it's made from jello. Oppo have some rolling shutter on 6x zoom, but nothing criminal. On the digital crop, Vivo do not have any fast modes. And Xiaomi actually have lots of rolling shutter on telephoto zooms, when shooting very fast moving subjects and objects. Here you can see, it has uniform size in this part and on the end part. In reality, the blade is uniform, straight, and have the same size on all its lengths. Here you can see how it inflates in this part. Here it even bends backwards. Here you can see some bending as well. So manufacturers need to do 3 things to become the greatest cameras for shooting fast-moving objects. Fix the algorithms, implement subject recognition and autofocus on the recognized subject, and third, very important, implement some hardware that will be fast without rolling shutter to avoid jello and bending on your photos. Alright my friends, I have a late night right now. I realized that last 3 hours of my recording was bugged, I completely lost it and need to reshoot everything. Please wish me good luck, not to go crazy, and we will discuss color science of these smartphones. Every camera manufacturer has its own color science. Sony, Canon, Nikon, Panasonic, Fujifilm, Olympus, and so on. Lots of photographers wage war against each other and waste their life on the forums, arguing against each other what color science is the best. Some people swear on the Canon's color science, and some dedicate their entire life trying to convince others that Sony's green skin tones is the worst possible thing that happened to humanity. Here we can see Oppo uses Hasselblad's magical ingredients, Vivo uses Zeiss secret formula, on the left we got Zeiss Vivid, and on the right Zeiss Natural. Xiaomi uses Leica Vibrant on the left and Leica Authentic on the right. Let's add Sony camera in the mix with their Sony color science. And what I can tell, Oppo, Vivo with Zeiss Vivid and Xiaomi with Leica Authentic looks very similar to conventional DSLR and mirrorless camera style. I love them most for taking pictures of the faces and humans. In simple words, portraits. But on Xiaomi I like Leica Vibrant for everything else. Don't get overwhelmed, my friends, stay with me, pay attention to the sky, to the color of the grass. Of course, there can be some differences in white balance, but we can get a general idea. If we zoom in, we can get an idea what is going on with computation and processing. Oppo only have one color science, while on Vivo, Zeiss Vivid, we have more processing, more details. On Zeiss Natural we have less processing, if we pay attention to this. And the similar stuff on Xiaomi, Leica Vibrant gives you more processing and Leica Authentic give you less processing. Very simple. Here another example, as we can see, Oppo is very subtle, while Zeiss Vivid is, you guessed it, very vivid and bright, and Leica Vibrant the same, while Oppo, Zeiss Natural and Leica Authentic are toned down. Here once again we can see more processing on Zeiss Vivid. I won't focus too much on this aspect, you can see for yourself. I feel like on Vivo and Xiaomi you can choose whatever will suit you more. Of course on Oppo you get what you get, it just depends on your personal preference. Let's move further. Let's torture these cameras more with our stress tests. Inside dark room with lots of natural light outside the windows. Ultra-wide modules. Xiaomi lost some dynamic range. Main 1-inch sensors. Let's add some Sony camera in the mix. Even without zooming in, I can see lots of noise patterns on the Sony APS-C camera. We can see tons of noise. Looks like Sony is noise generating machine. I feel like Vivo did a very good job. It is the best here in terms of contrast, details, without almost any noise, while Sony is drowning in noise. If you want to buy APS-C camera today and get better results, I feel like you need to prepare $2,000+, or just wait till manufacturers implement computational RAW photography. And this Sony ZV-10 has almost none shadow details. Our first telephoto, 3x on Oppo, 3.7 on Vivo and 3.2 on Xiaomi. Let's add Sony camera in the mix, even without zooming in. What is going on with these noise levels? What the hell happened with dynamic range? Everything is blown out. I feel like camera manufacturers need to wake up. I just can't recommend their budget cameras at all. If you want nice mirrorless experience, buy something full frame with stacked backside illuminated sensor. Otherwise, what are you doing? Why are you spending that much money? Oppo and Vivo, nice job, lots of details, no noise. Xiaomi lost some contrast and details as a result, and Sony being Sony. Second telephoto on Oppo, the same second telephoto on Xiaomi, and digital crop on Vivo. Tell me what you think, but I feel like Vivo is winner here. Also, I had to do this. This is portrait mode with AI facial retouching. This is my favorite mode inside Vivo. Yes, this looks artificial, this looks plastic. I know photographers who spend, I'm not joking, hours a day to recreate this fashion-like plastic fantastic look. They Photoshop people to post them on Instagram and get very little payment in return, so they waste hours of their precious life for this retouching. There are some plugins and scripts for Photoshop to help with this process, but here you can actually press just one button and it will give you nice result, and you can almost fully control what it will do with face. I love this mode, and this is just a glimpse in the future, where we will have AI photography. We will dictate a script, choose a model inside the camera, and voila, we will get the results of our imagination, with no boundaries or shackles. You imagine something, you write a script, press the shutter button, and it will transform the scene to whatever you like. Let's move further and torture our camera phones more with this sun behind the subject test. This test will show us how computational algorithms work in this situation, how they handle contrast, how they remove flares, and also we will test coatings on the lens. Let's start from ultrawide. What is going on with Xiaomi? Looks like Xiaomi do not have facial perspective control, but maybe because the photo was taken lower. Anyway, I can see that Vivo has more contrast, while Oppo loses some, and Xiaomi is darker. One-inch main sensors. Here we can see almost the same trend. Let's add our noise generator in the mix, Sony ZV-10. Thank you, Sony, you never disappoint me. Here is second telephoto module on Oppo, 3.7 on Vivo, first telephoto on Xiaomi. Second telephoto module is a lot weaker in situation like this with backlight. On Vivo we have some light leaks on the face. I feel like it is because of the lower angle. I asked cameraman, in this particular situation camera woman, not to do this, but it is what it is. And not so bad job on Xiaomi also. Also, I want to test portrait mode on Vivo and Xiaomi. I noticed that in a lot of situations, dedicated portrait mode on Vivo gives you better results in this situation when sun is behind the subject. Let's test second situation on the sunset. We can see that Oppo lost all the contrast, while on Vivo we have some weird shape in the sky. And the same stuff on Xiaomi. I feel like Vivo and Xiaomi did a lot better job here, and Vivo preserved the most contrast possible in this situation. Main 1-inch sensors. We can see that Xiaomi has these sun stars because of the variable aperture. Now it is closed to f2.8. Let's add our noise generator machine, Sony. Actually, it did very nice job here. What the hell with Xiaomi? I can see this weird glitch or artifact when you are filming with bright light source behind your subject. 3x telephoto models, 3.7 on Vivo, first telephoto on Xiaomi. Oppo lost lots of contrast and we have some light leaks. Let's add noise generator machine, Sony in the mix. Actually, Sony misfocused in this condition, while Xiaomi is tripping very hard. Oppo lost almost all the contrast and we have this light leak on the face. And I feel like Vivo did the best job here. Second telephoto on Oppo and on Xiaomi, and digital crop on Vivo. By the way, here we can see that there is no glitches on the face, but look here, this is the same second telephoto, but actually we have some artifacts. Double eyes, double eyebrows. So keep this in mind. If you are shooting against sunlight on Xiaomi, make sure to take multiple photos. Oppo's second telephoto is not the best in this scenario. Vivo, I feel like, did a better job among them all, because Xiaomi is very overexposed in this area, as well as some funky weirdness with eyes and so on. Not reliable at all right now. This is future me from another timeline. I made some testing and get exact same result every time. In the low light scenario, with bright backlight, this is selfie camera, Xiaomi will be very confused and give you this weird glitches. I found no way to turn this AI camera off on the front selfie camera. This is repeatable with 100% success rate, if you can call this a success. Here AI portrait mode with facial retouching. On the Oppo I feel like it just exists, but I do not feel like ever using it. On Xiaomi we have again, what the hell Xiaomi? What is going on with these eyes? And on Vivo I feel like it's just perfect. Mwah! Best, I love this mode. Also, I feel like when you use AI portrait mode, it gives you better result when shooting against sunlight or any large light source. Let's test some selfie shenanigans against direct sunlight. And of course add some Sony camera in the mix. It was very hard to frame, because Sony cameras and budget cameras in general have atrocious screen. You just can't see anything on the direct sunlight. I feel like selfie cameras are not greatest in almost all modern smartphones, but if I really have to choose, I feel like I will go with Oppo for the colors. Vivo looks very over-sharpened in this situation, also my skin is magenta for some reason. I feel like both Oppo and Xiaomi did a very nice job here. But of course conventional camera beats all modern selfie cameras. But actually these selfie cameras can beat some main sensors from modern smartphones and even some flagships. One more test during the day. As you can see, in reality, not everything is like on paper. Main 1-inch sensors without zooming in. I feel like contrast levels are the best on Vivo. Let's add noise generator machine. Here is some Sony and wow, finally APS-C camera gives us at least something. Contrast levels are very good on this APS-C camera in this particular scenario. But still, I do not feel like this is night and day difference, because this is RAW photo. We can actually shoot RAW with these smartphones to get better results. But here I have to give this to Sony, but still this is not enough to carry it with me every day. First telephoto model 3x, 3.7 and 3.2. The same situation, Vivo have the best contrast levels. Let's add Sony here and see what is going on. You know, here I will give this to Vivo. Sorry Sony, not this time. And quickly, second telephoto. Oppo uses 4.3, aperture 135mm, Xiaomi 120mm f2.5, and in this situation Vivo uses crop from 3.7mm zoom. And here Oppo actually woke up. Very hard decision. I feel like Xiaomi is somewhere in the middle, Vivo have more details, and Oppo has the best contrast. As you can see, this is give and take situations. Let's have some fun with daylight architectural photography. It is very hard to tell without zooming in a lot. Let's add some Sony camera in the mix. And here Sony camera with Sigma lens wins, but not for a mile. You can see more details here in the shadow areas, the same on Vivo. It is very hard to decide right now. I feel like APS-C camera wins. Let's go for the zooms. 3x, 3.7 and 3.2. They are very close, hard to tell right now, all of them have nice dynamic range, but I feel like Xiaomi is lacking a little bit in this area. Let's add Sony camera, and this is the maximum you could go with this Zoom Sigma 2.8 lens. It goes as far as 80mm on the wide end and 50mm on the zoom end, of course on the APS-C crop factor. It looks kinda soft. We have very nice dynamic range in this door or this bell, but I feel like it lacks some details. Looks like it focused on these bushes. Once again, this budget mirrorless cameras has atrocious screen. I tried to focus on this area, but looks like it focused here. It is what it is. As you can see, Xiaomi has less dynamic range here, and I feel like Vivo has the most amount of details, and dynamic range is still very good. Look at these bricks. It looks very soft on Oppo, while Xiaomi and Vivo gives you nice texture. And if you look at this mosaic, I feel like Vivo taking a lead. If you use second telephoto models on Oppo and Xiaomi and digital crop on Vivo, we see the same story. Vivo has more dynamic range, more details, more texture, everything is more defined. I will give this win to Vivo. Maybe if we zoom in more, we can see some difference, and here I can see that Xiaomi have some movement in the shot. I tried my best to hold it as still as possible. You know, actually here I will give the win to Oppo. This mosaic is more defined, we see more texture on this stone, look how it looks on Vivo, almost like water painting. If we look on the bricks, we actually see some specular lights, we see texture on these bricks, while on Vivo it looks like water painting. Here's the same situation, 30x zoom, and Xiaomi has some movement, like optical image stabilization is not working properly. You know, even though it looks like Oppo has more details, but in this particular situation, I will give this to Vivo. Look, I can tell that this is a human. Here also I can tell this is a human, this is arm, this is head, this is leg. And here it looks more like some abstract art. Here as well, I can tell that this is a crowd, this is a human in the skies, when on the Oppo I can tell what it is exactly. Here also, I can see this is a human, we can see arms, we can see legs, this is a human too, and here looks like abstract. We can argue about this, but I will give this to Vivo. This is again 30x zoom, and Xiaomi again have some movement and shot because of optical image stabilization. And here it is not an easy task. I feel like Vivo have refined edges, while Oppo give you better texture. If we look on the stone, we can see a texture on this balcony, while on Vivo it looks like a water painting. This is more extreme, 60x zoom, the same situation. Xiaomi has some problems with stability, movement in the shot, everything looks blurry, while Oppo and Vivo rock solid, and for the first glance looks like Oppo has more details, but let's zoom in. And here I feel like it is the same situation. I can recognize humans, I see that this is an arm, this is legs, they are humans in the dress, and here this is just some abstract art. Here as well, this is human, and this is human, and here I can't recognize them. By the way, can you guess what is it? Here, this is rubber on the floor on this playground. If you zoom in 30x times, you will see this rubber. Pretty cool that we can zoom in that far. Here, if we zoom in, we can see how this phone uses their algorithms, and we can see how Xiaomi is very aggressive with its AI models. Little bit more second telephoto on Oppo and Xiaomi. Vivo uses digital crop. Very hard decision. I feel like Vivo is the sharpest, Oppo is softest, but difference is not so drastic. In this situation I give this to Vivo. More details, more textures on the stone, more defined edges, and more contrast levels. 20x zoom, immediately I can tell that Xiaomi is very vibrant, and if I'm not mistaken, I can see slight movement in the shot. By the way, we can see that Oppo is very moody and dark in this situation, and it is a processing. When I took the photo, it looked almost exactly like Vivo, but couple seconds later it appeared like this on the screen. This is just a processing of image, giving you this moody style. Feels like slight movement. Xiaomi needs to do something with its optical image stabilization, but still processing saves the day. Okay, sometimes hard decisions have to be made. I see more texture, like look over here. We actually can see the texture of the stone, texture of the bricks, and I feel like leaves are more defined. Overall, I like Vivo's look and colors more, but I have to give this to Oppo because of the texture. But in situation like this, processing of the colors are not the greatest. I can see green tint, and eagle is too dark for my taste. Some people ask me how car photography will look like on these phones. Here it is, ultra-wide shots. Immediately we can see that Xiaomi is wider, 12mm, and Vivo give you this bright look. But on landscapes and situations like this, with aerial shots, I like bright image, I like information and shadows, and it's just my personal taste, but I like these acid colors of foliage. I love nature to be green, but please watch for yourself, pick and choose your favorite colors, your favorite contrast, and your favorite mood. I see lines on this window more defined on Vivo. Overall image is brighter on Vivo, it gives you more details. I like the contrast levels of the disc. Hard decision. I feel like colors on Oppo are more deep, more serious, while Oppo looks little bit cartoony, but if I remember correctly, the reality was somewhere in the middle. 1-inch sensor, and here Xiaomi decides to give you more bright image. Oppo continues its tradition, and Vivo adds some deep parts in the shadow areas. I love both of them. We are adding Sony mirrorless camera, you can look for yourself as a reference. I feel like Oppo and Xiaomi has more details, look at the lines on the window, look at the lights. Tires are more refined on the Oppo, Xiaomi as well. Very hard to decide, but I feel like Oppo did better job here. Vivo looks little bit like water painting. 3x zoom on Oppo, 3.7 Vivo, Xiaomi 3.2, For some reason now Oppo looks like Vivo, Vivo looks like Oppo, with dark, deep colors and contrasty shadows, where Oppo decides to give you brighter shadows. We are adding Sony mirrorless camera in the mix. Image is little bit dark because it was almost evening already. You can make this car brighter by spending more time in photo editing software. For example, bring luminosity of the blue color up. And in situation like this I like Vivo more. You can see that it goes back and forth. Ultra-wide is one, main sensor another, and telephoto zooms different story. But what I want to say, I do not see any reason for me to use APS-C camera in situation like this. If you really want something better, prepare spending more cash on full frame with expensive glass. This is a selfie shot. Oppo is more moody and dark, Vivo is brighter, and Xiaomi somewhere in the middle, but what I want to say, immediately, in this situation color on Oppo looks more true to life. This t-shirt is definitely black. Let's add some Sony camera for the reference. And now we are transitioning to the late evening. Selfie camera, this is Xiaomi. Once again, selfie cameras are not great in these phones. I will give some remark. For example, sometimes even on S24 Ultra I got the same results on main camera sensor, which is weird. This is Sony noise generator for the reference. By the way, yeah, it was very dark outside. Let's quickly test portraits in the evening. This is ultra-wide models. One-inch sensors and noise generator Sony camera. First telephoto 72mm 3x on Oppo, 3.7 on Vivo 85mm equivalent, and 75mm 1.8 on Xiaomi. Our noise generator Sony ZV-10 Sigma lens. Very hard decision. I like the natural details on conventional camera, but image is too soft. I feel like you need something like, here I have 56mm Sigma 1.4 lens. It is a lot more sharper. If you use something more expensive like prime lens, you will get better results, but you won't have this convenience, and you need to switch lens every time you need to take a new photo. When I used to go on the paid jobs, I usually had 3 cameras with me, one with standard zoom and 2 additional cameras with prime lenses. But this time long gone, I want to have convenience and innovations. Look on the difference of white balance. Oppo and Sony are very similar. Second telephoto modules on Oppo and Xiaomi, Vivo uses digital crop from 3.7x zoom. By the way, want to remind you, I am using Zeiss Vivid and Leica Vibrant on all these photos. You can change them to Zeiss Natural or Leica Authentic and you will get completely different look. Also on Vivo, even in the main photo tab, you can play with sharpness, contrast and saturation levels. While you can't do this on automatic modes on Oppo and Xiaomi, for example. You need to use Master Mode on Oppo and Pro Photo Mode on Xiaomi. I love the level of details on Vivo. This is definitely not just over-sharpening of the image. We can see each individual fibers. We can see the texture of this shirt. I can see individual threads, stitches. I love this. Xiaomi also, nice job, and I feel like highlight areas are better on Xiaomi in this particular scenario. Also quick mention about telephoto models in macro photography in evening. Of course on Oppo, as you can see, I tried my best to make it the same frame, but you actually have to go a lot further away from your subject. While on Vivo and Xiaomi, this is not a problem. And I find Vivo to be the best in this scenario. Easy to target your subject, easy to frame and hold stabilization, and results will be better, more stable and pleasing user experience. Let's check cityscapes and architecture in the evening, ultra-wide models. What I can tell, we have this blue-white balance. Maybe it can provide you evening vibes, but I actually prefer whites to be white, even in the evening. I can't give you a winner in the ultra-wide, only can say choose the least evil. But if you are not zooming in, I will say that I love that you get more image with Xiaomi because it is more wide, very nice white balance, and I love colors. Main 1-inch sensor, main 1-inch sensors. Without zooming in, I see more details in the shadows on Vivo as always. Oppo is very dark and moody, and Xiaomi is somewhere in the middle. Here is our Sony mirrorless camera. The image is dark because it was even darker. Smartphones just made it look brighter. I feel like lots of details on all of them. We can see texture, we can see fine edges, but of course image is a lot brighter on Vivo. Let's zoom in a lot more. Hard to decide. I want to give this to Vivo. Even though it still looks like a little bit of water paint, but we can see texture of the stone, we can see refined edges, information in the shadows, and even some perception of depths. Remember, our metric system is always watching you through the eyes of our government. First 3x telephoto modules on all, Oppo once again give you blue-white balance in the evenings. I love small details and texture on Oppo, but white balance is weird. Level of details is good on all of them, but here in the shadow we actually see more details on Vivo. Both Xiaomi and Vivo give you nice details, but I feel like Vivo is better, while on Oppo you have this soft look. Maybe it is preferable on the texture of the skin, but in situation like this I love to see small refined details. Second telephoto modules, Oppo Xiaomi, Vivo uses 135mm digital crop. Once again I feel like the white balance is the best on Vivo and we have more details in the shadow area. Let's zoom in for the details. I feel like without doubt Vivo is better, more details in the shadow, more refined edges, I can even see this metal net and some level of depth perception, and I easily can read these writings. Let's combat telephoto modules more. First telephoto 3x zooms. I feel like Oppo has more texture, while Vivo has more refined edges, and Xiaomi actually has both. It is somewhere in the middle. By the way, the building was red. I love the colors on Oppo and Xiaomi, but actually I like small details on Vivo. Second telephoto on Oppo and Xiaomi. Let's zoom in. Xiaomi is somewhere in the middle. It has nice refined edges like Vivo and also the texture and colors like Oppo. Very hard to decide. Very tough. I like something about each of these photos, and I can't ignore that Xiaomi has good balance. This is 10x zoom. Once again, I like colors more on Oppo, while details on Vivo and Xiaomi. Maybe Xiaomi gives you better detail. This is extreme 30x zoom. I feel like Oppo is little bit better because of the texture. And once again, 30x zoom. In these contrasty situations, Oppo always give you silhouettes, while Vivo tries to give you more bright image. And it looks like Xiaomi have some movement and shot also. Xiaomi, please fix your optical image stabilization. It is hard to notice, but look, Oppo has more refined edges, refined details, it has texture, especially if you look at this part, but what's the point of having all these details if the image is too dark? Maybe if you shoot computational RAW, you can somewhat fix it, but I do not feel like doing it. In the end of this comparison, we will look at the RAW files of all these cameras. Let's look at the night mode. We are transitioning into the night right now, and for reference, here is our Sony noise generator machine. Noise levels are over the top. I feel like Vivo has more details here on the stones and maybe better highlight performance, but I just nitpicking. First telephoto module. Vivo has this feature that's called Enhanced Night Skies. It gives you this dark blue deep sky. I love it. For me it is eternally turned on by default. No way I am turn this off. Our poor little Sony. For now I feel like Vivo has more details, but let's actually zoom in more. Yeah, definitely Vivo has more details. We see these ropes, these joints, the ladder, and I feel like we have better texture. to get something even slightly similar to this Vivo, for example. On conventional camera Sony, in this example, you need to have a tripod with you and make long exposure. No way you will ever make this level of a shot handheld. Maybe on some Olympus or Panasonic cameras with great IBIS, but not of these pieces of embarrassment like Sony ZV-10 and others, especially on old cameras like Canon 1000D, 550D and so on. This is just a joke. Second, telephoto modules. Even without zooming in, I can feel like Xiaomi has movement in shot because of optical image stabilization. Yeah, I feel like Xiaomi has slight movement. I feel like you will agree with me that Vivo wins. Let's quickly test 10x. You can see that Oppo uses digital crop from 3x, because second telephoto is very dark. The same on Vivo, it uses digital crop on 3.7x, and Xiaomi uses its dedicated second telephoto f2.5. As expected, Vivo wins. It has better colors, it has more details, and even has better texture. But I feel like Xiaomi is very pleasing too. Even though it is soft, it reminds me of real cameras. 30x zoom, and here magic happened, and we can see that Oppo uses dedicated second telephoto, despite it being dark. This is after latest firmware update, where they specifically targeted this problem. Vivo still uses digital crop from 3.7, and Xiaomi uses its second telephoto module. Let's zoom in. I still feel like Vivo wins here, but it is very nice improvement for Oppo. I'm slightly disappointed that they used this very dark second telephoto module in their Ultra device. 60x zoom, it is manages to use this dark f4.3 telephoto module, and I even feel like result is better than on Vivo's. Xiaomi has movement in the shot, that's why it is ruined. Very interesting stuff. Also, let's see Cityscape in deep late night. Whoa, very nice. Contrast levels on Xiaomi, we still have lots of details and blue sky with deep black cosmos. Not an easy task, but I find like Vivo wins here. We can see the texture of the church, Xiaomi has blown up highlights in this area, and text is not defined here. But without zooming in, I love the contrast level of Xiaomi, and I love how white it is. We can see even these two lanterns in the image. 1-inch sensor. Let's add Sony camera here. Not an easy task. I feel like they all look nice, but on Xiaomi I feel like shadows are a little bit dark in some areas. Also we have some green tint on this church. Very hard to decide, but what can I easily say? I am not pleased at all with this Sony ZV-10 performance. Let's move further. 3x zooms, 72 Oppo, 85 on Vivo, 75 on Xiaomi. The most obvious, Vivo is a lot brighter. Let's add Sony camera and zoom in. Can we agree with each other that Vivo is a lot better in this scenario? More details, it is a lot brighter, more refined edges, details, I can see lots of texture on the stone, very good color separation, look at these monuments, look at the clothes of the people, and it is not just over-sharpening. I can easily recognize this is face, this is beard, here, beard, this is hand, this is a human person. While on Oppo it is hard, on Xiaomi we lost some details and Sony is drowning in the noise. If you apply heavy noise reduction to Sony, you will get very distorted faces as well. Look at the texture of the stairway. Once again, 3x zooms on all of them. Let's add Sony once again. I feel like we have no doubts right now that Vivo is a lot better in 3x zooms. I can recognize these metal wires on Vivo and look at this level of details on this metal part. This is second telephoto modules on Oppo and on Xiaomi. Vivo uses digital crop. Maybe here Oppo can redeem itself. Actually not. I still feel like Vivo wins. Again, second telephoto and digital crop on Vivo. Oppo tries to fight back, but Vivo is better. This is 10x zoom, let's zoom in. I feel like both Vivo and Xiaomi has nice amount of details. I love these colors on Vivo. Very hard to decide, but I like highlight performance on Vivo more. 10x digital zoom, Vivo is brighter. But maybe I like texture more on the Oppo. Xiaomi somewhere in the middle. Once again, 10x zoom, digital crop. I feel like Vivo has more details, more texture, and colors are more vivid. We'll give this to Vivo, definitely. This is extreme 20x zoom. Very nice job for the details from Oppo, but I feel like the texture became matte, like paper, while both on Vivo and Xiaomi they are still metal. But nice job, Oppo. Here we can see even some texture and refined edges. 20x zoom, Oppo after firmware update, where it uses AI magic in such extreme zoom scenarios. We can see that Xiaomi did a very good job with this HDR, but image overall is very soft and noisy. Even though I like level of details on Oppo, but this metal sculpture starts to look like a painting. But I love texture on the stone. Once again, 20x zoom, Vivo is a lot brighter, and I feel like it has more details and texture. No, Oppo is better in texture department, but overall I like image on the Vivo more. I can see texture and I feel dimensions. This is extreme 60x zoom. Neither of these looks perfect, but I feel like Oppo have some edge, while Xiaomi is way too overprocessed, has some noise, problems with highlights, and look at this framing. I was managed to make Oppo and Vivo almost identical. It was easier to frame, while on Xiaomi it was a lot harder. Image constantly moved out of frame. Again, extreme 60x zoom. On Xiaomi it was way harder to make similar framing. On Oppo we have more refined edges, texture of the stone, but I feel like we completely lost the texture of the metal sculpture. While on Vivo, yes, it is soft, but I can easily tell that it is made from metal. This is give and take situation. The same situation here, extreme 60x zoom. Oppo still uses second telephoto 4.3. You can see that on Xiaomi I had a hard time to frame it the way I wanted it to be. It is what it is. On Oppo we have lots of artificial details, but I feel like we completely lost metal texture and it even deformed the face and the wing. On Vivo I can easily tell that this made from metal, while on Oppo it looks like a paper painting. Xiaomi have a lot of homework to do with optical image stabilization. I did not use Sony camera in the zoom testing, because this is the most that you can get from this telephoto zoom lens, and image won't be that good. One can say
that you can zoom with your feet.
And yes, you can go closer to your subject and get a lot better result. But I can do the same with smartphones and get even better image. The same logic can be applied to smartphone photography. You definitely need to change your lens on the APS-C, and telephoto lenses are usually expensive. And if you want nice bright image, not only it will be a lot more expensive, it will be a lot heavier. The V10 and this Sigma 2.8 lens are considered to be the smallest and the lightest in the mirrorless camera market, but even then I definitely feel it in my back, and it is not very comfortable to use in public. So I'm very pleased with the results that we get from these ultra smartphones. By the way, I feel like Vivo wins here. Look at the texture. I can feel this made from metal. Look at the brightness levels. I can see an eye in this shadow part, while here it is kinda dark. And I love the texture. It looks more authentic, more realistic, while on Xiaomi and on Oppo I feel like it is overprocessed. 10x zoom. X zoom. More extreme 20x zoom. I feel like Vivo. Let's sum it up. This church cityscape landscape photography. By the way, this is 3x zoom and 3.7 on Vivo. What I want to say is that I feel like I enjoyed Vivo a lot more in most of the situations. Image is brighter, white balance is better, I can see more information in the shadow areas, and I love night skies on Vivo more. I was surprised by the Oppo's behavior after latest firmware update, but I still feel like it is not enough. By the way, look at this highlight performance, at the faces of people, and also texture of the bricks and these metal sculptures. If we add Sony camera in the mix, you can see that actually it was a lot darker. It was very hard for me to do all this handheld. So from now and on, smartphone photography will never be the same, especially after trying the Vivo. From now and on it will only be better. I loved Xiaomi also, and Oppo is also very good in lots of scenarios. But universally, what I can tell, I was not pleased with my Sony camera and $3,000 set of lenses. I tried to buy the smallest and the greatest of them, but still it is pain in the butt to change lenses on the go. Everyone looked on me with suspicious, what I'm doing here with this professional camera gear. It was just the V10 with smallest lens possible. If I use something like full frame with giant lens, I will be the target for security guards and police to ask what I'm doing here. You absolutely can get better results with mirrorless camera, but you need a tripod, you need more expensive set of lenses, maybe full frame, and you need to work a lot more in post. By the way, both Vivo and Xiaomi has dedicated Supermoon mode. Oppo does not have it, but I feel like it does okay job with it. By the way, here how it will look like without Supermoon mode and with, both on Vivo and Xiaomi. Mysterious object in our mysterious blue skies that is always facing us with only one side. And of course it is because of synchronized rotation. Yeah, how convenient. The nature is very great engineer. This is car at night, ultra-wide module, and Xiaomi is wider. Main 1-inch sensors. Let's add real mirrorless camera in the mix. Truly, Sony deserves its name. Noise Generator 9000. Some portraits at night, 1-inch sensor. Let's add Sony camera in this comparison. It was very dark outside. First telephoto module, 3x, noise generator 9000 for the reference. Alright. What is wrong with Xiaomi? I have some pigmentation on my skin right now. Sony is too dark, despite me trying to restore it from the raw photo. Oppo has the least amount of contrast, but image looks soft and natural in some way. Actually, the texture of this shirt is a lot better on Vivo, but color of the bracer is a little bit off, but I feel like this is not the crucial part here. 6x zoom, second telephoto modules. Oppo uses crop from the 3x in this situation because it is too dark for it. The same as Vivo, it uses crop from 3.7x, while Xiaomi have dedicated 2.5 120mm lens. And once again, what is wrong with these colors? I have some weird pigmentation in this part of my beard. I love the level of details on Xiaomi, but this pigmentation is just unforgivable. It makes this photo unusable. And once again, I love the texture of the shirt more on Vivo. Now let's try extreme low light with small little lantern or with no light at all. Ultra wides. Main 1-inch sensor, also Sony with expensive Sigma lens. I feel like Xiaomi needs to do something with their optical image stabilization, while Sony needs to do something with noise performance on their budget cameras. X zoom on all, without zooming in. Xiaomi has some movement in the shot because of problems with optical image stabilization. I look a little bit green in some areas on Vivo, and I love skin colors on Oppo. Here is Sony with Sigma lens. I like this texture of the clothes on Vivo, and despite having lots of noise on Sony, we can actually see some texture of the clothes too. This is portrait mode with AI retouching. Vivo has settings for AI retouching on male faces, so the effect will be subtle, without weird makeup and so on. Maybe in situation like this, on Xiaomi problems with optical image stabilization will give you more smooth skin at night. And quickly zoom in, Vivo went Apple with some green tints in the shadows. Fun stuff. Extreme low light. Light comes only from this small lantern. On Vivo we have some interesting halation effect. And Xiaomi is the most contrasty and moody look. I love it in some ways. Here main 1-inch sensor. I feel like Oppo has a least amount of contrast while Xiaomi has the most, and Vivo is somewhere in the middle. Here Sony camera for reference. X zoom. The same situation, Oppo is less contrasty, Xiaomi is more contrasty, and Vivo is in the middle. Sony camera for comparison. Second telephoto models, digital crop on Vivo and 120mm on Xiaomi. Also, I want to test portrait mode with AI retouching. On Oppo we have only slider from 0 to 100%, the same on Xiaomi, but it has facial reconstruction effect, and on Vivo you can actually control every possible aspect: ears, nose, eyes, chin, jaw, mouth, forehead, skin smoothing, and so on. The same AI retouching portrait mode. I feel like Vivo is ultimate beautifier. This portrait mode has fake bokeh effect. You can control the amount of it on Oppo and on Xiaomi as well. On Vivo you can completely turn it off. Problems can occur, for example, in the hairs and complicated shapes. Look how good of a job Oppo does with these hairs on this fake bokeh. During the day we can see nice results almost on all of them, but I want to know, how will they behave at night in complicated scenarios? This is complete pitch blackness, the only source of light is small little lantern over there, and these RGB lights. Little bit of funkiness on Vivo, but I still feel like they all do a nice job. Telephoto. Here it looks like part of my head is missing. This is because of this fake bokeh blur. But you won't get these artifacts every time, and on the other hand, you won't get these nice results every time also. I suggest to use very subtle blur, for example 2.8 or even f4 in these fake portrait modes. Results will be a lot more natural. I feel like if I take 100 photos on each of these phones, I will find similar artifacts. And our final test, night mode in the extreme low light condition. Better say pitch black. It was even darker than this in real life. I could barely see anything. This is 1-inch sensors in pitch black conditions. Something wrong with these shutter speeds, because I definitely remember that it was 3 seconds on the Xiaomi, and here I don't remember exactly. Here what will happen if you add budget APS-C camera plus expensive lens $1,300, noise generator 9000, Sony ZV-10. We can see lots of stars. On the Sony, stars made from noise. And dead pixels. Here is 3x zooms. All 3 phones use crop from main 1-inch sensor. We can add Sony camera in the mix. Sony image reminds me of the movie The Ring. It looks like some dead girl will jump out of the screen right now. Very creepy image. Or even we can say very crappy image. So you get an idea. No matter what you do, in the pitch black low light conditions, all these phones will use crop from the main 1-inch sensors. What will happen if we turn on small little lantern? Ultra-wide modules. Without zooming in, I feel like Vivo did a better job with color separation and contrast levels. But I love how Xiaomi is very moody. And on Oppo I see lots of harsh highlights. But I feel like on Oppo image feels more natural, on Vivo it is more processed, and Xiaomi is somewhere in the middle. Neither of them look too good or too bad, just pick what you like. Main 1-inch sensors, as this should be more interesting for us, can noise generator 9000 improve with the light on the scene? This is our first telephoto models, and all 3 phones with this small little lantern were able to take photos exactly with these models. This is not a crop, but image from telephoto sensors. Noise generator. Oh my god. No, just no details at all in shadow area. I actually prefer Vivo in this scenario. More texture, more details, and almost no noise at all. And 6x zoom. Oppo uses crop from 3x telephoto module, Vivo the same, uses crop from 3.7, and Xiaomi uses its own second dedicated telephoto module, 120mm. Not bad, not bad. Vivo and Xiaomi, I like them the most, but I will give an edge to Vivo. More defined textures and more refined edges. The same, if we are zooming in 10 times, we can see that Oppo has the same crop from 3x, Vivo from 3.7, and Xiaomi uses crop from second telephoto f2.5 module. This is very extreme, no light at all situation. I feel like Vivo wins here, I will explain why. On Oppo, every time I could not get any focus at all, while on Vivo I get usable results. The same situation on Xiaomi, it struggles a lot without any light at all. If we try to zoom in, the same situation, Oppo no focus at all, Vivo and Xiaomi uses crop from main sensor. Oh my god, ISO level is almost 29,000, Xiaomi uses 12,800. Of course, this is not the greatest image in the world, but this was pitch black conditions. I made these photos handheld. On the conventional mirrorless camera, you will just get black screen, without anything at all. I feel like Vivo wins, more edges on the fans, and more color separation. I tried to zoom in even more, but on Oppo it is completely useless. On Vivo we have some image, and second telephoto module is useless in these pitch black conditions. Both of these phones still use crop from the main sensor. Once again, not the greatest image in the world, but very handy. And one last section in the end, let's test RAW photography. This is RAW files from Oppo. On top of normal RAW shooting, Oppo has so-called RAW Max. This is computational RAW file, normal RAW, ultra RAW, and for the first glance, I do not see that much of a difference. Normal RAW is 4K resolution and weighs somewhere around 25-30 megabytes, and ultra RAW is 8K resolution and weighs 100 megabytes. Let me try to manipulate these files. Not much of a difference in terms of dynamic range, but I see less noise on the Ultra RAW. The same with colors. I feel like on Oppo, both RAW and RAW Max have the same amount of color flexibility, but I only see noise advantage and of course resolution. I made some final results, but unfortunately Oppo does not give you computational JPEGs, so I do not have anything to compare it for now. Let's check Vivo and Xiaomi and we'll compare them against each other. And Vivo actually gives you JPEGs to compare against. I will make some tweaks and compare it against computational JPEGs. On Vivo, computational RAW is called Super RAW, but you can choose half resolution or full resolution both on RAW and Super RAW. Ultra-wide module only have half resolution, no matter RAW or Super RAW. Super RAW is the same, 100 megabytes, and give you 8K resolution, or you can choose 4K resolution. The same goes to normal RAW. And here on Vivo, I can actually see the difference. I feel like Super RAW gives you better dynamic range. But this is just my first impressions, of course we need to check this. While manipulating these files, I can't believe that I am editing files from my smartphone. It really behaves like APS-C conventional camera. And I can see that Vivo on the computational RAW applies lots of noise reduction in the shadow areas. Here I edited some RAW files on the Vivo. Let's compare them with computational JPEGs. I made only subtle changes. I didn't want to spend all night editing these RAW files. Also, I was very impressed with highlight performance in the skies with Vivo in its computational RAW. But sometimes in automatic mode I saw that highlights was very harsh. So if you are shooting RAW, try to take the control over the highlights by yourself. So this is Vivo 1-inch sensor. I don't know what happened here. Maybe when you are shooting computational RAW plus JPEG, algorithms getting confused, but it is what it is. Here we can see that we can definitely fix this. Computational JPEG versus processed Super RAW. I can see lots of more natural details, texture of the clothes. Look at these parts. We have better highlights performance. I can see more texture of the skin, and image looks more natural overall. This is computational JPEG from the Vivo, computational RAW that I tried to manipulate by myself, and a RAW file from conventional cameras Sony. While working with these files, I found that ZV-10 was not actually better in RAW department, so I feel like smartphone RAW photography is a real thing, no matter what photographers will say. Let's see portraits, computational JPEG, Super RAW, computational JPEG, Super RAW. While manipulating these files, I found out that on Vivo I always wanted to push saturation. Out of the box, you do not get lots of colors. We'll compare all the phones against each other and Sony camera in the end. I just want to see the results on Vivo. I feel like we get a lot more natural results from RAW files on Vivo, and we actually do not lose any dynamic range at all. And you get all the benefits of RAW photography. You can really push and pull colors to the max. If you have some spare time to waste, you can definitely make it for your liking. And in some situations I felt like these phones are better than ZV-10. This is mind-blowing. And these phones are definitely better than old cameras. And even in situations like this, you can make the results to look more soft and natural if you want. And try to preserve even more highlight information. This is Xiaomi. Xiaomi gives you computational RAW as well as computational JPEGs. Very nice. And what I noticed that Xiaomi has very small file sizes, somewhere around 15 to 20 megabytes only. And you can choose 8K resolution or 4K resolution. They are 5 times smaller than on Oppo and Vivo. This is very efficient, and this is definitely an advantage. You can't shoot 50 megapixels 8K on the ultra-wide module. But big downsides, you can't actually change color profile. If you want to shoot full resolution image, you need to shoot in Leica Vibrant. And I like Leica Authentic a lot more in terms of portraiture. So if I want to use Leica Authentic and I want to use Ultra RAW, I need to shoot it in half resolution. But still 4K image is more than enough. It will give you 12 megapixels instead of 50. 50 megapixels, you will get 8K image. And here, I already can notice some differences. Ultra RAW will give you better dynamic range. Look at the sun, we are actually getting better performance. And maybe even better noise performance. So I do not see any reason why you should use normal RAW on Xiaomi. Just use Ultra RAW, you will get better dynamic range and still you will get nice file sizes. Here, the same example. This is Ultra RAW, look at the sky, and normal RAW, a lot less dynamic range. But what I want to say, this is still better than something like old mirrorless DSLR. Better dynamic range and better noise, and we are using just a smartphone. Not to talk about Ultra RAW, computational RAW of the future. This is the reason why I want conventional cameras to have computational RAW, because you will get better dynamic range, you will get better shadows. You won't get fake retouching or sharpening out of a thin air, you will get actually better picture. But camera companies want to sell you their expensive full frames, $2,000–$3,000 set of lenses. Some camera bodies can easily cost $5,000–$7,000. Can I make the images look better? I had to spend more time on this, but it is what it is. I didn't want to spend all my life massaging RAW files. The image that I made looks more natural. I do not see any reason why would I want to use my APS-C camera even for RAW photography. In maybe 95% of the situations, I will just use my smartphone for RAW photography. Let's see, this is computational JPEG, RAW file that I was somewhat lazy to manipulate more, but you definitely can achieve these colors and contrast levels. I just wanted to make subtle changes. You can see that even though Xiaomi looks over-processed, in reality Xiaomi's RAW files are very soft and natural. Her skin is a little bit yellow. Xiaomi in Leica Vibrant definitely goes some magenta vibes. So, highlight performance. It is hard decision because it is computational RAW, sometimes it will give you very good highlights and sometimes you need to be very accurate. My advice, if you really want to save your highlights, make sure that it is not clipped on your screen. But particularly in this exact situation, I feel like Vivo is better. But again, in other situations, it can be different. Here once more, all the settings are the same, even on Sony camera, and I can say that I was very pleased by Vivo and Xiaomi also. Oppo is not bad either, but I didn't feel like it was a lot better on conventional camera, Sony ZV-10. This is mind-blowing. Sony lost focus, alright. Oppo is more tolerant to noise, while Vivo and Xiaomi both tries to fight it. In this particular scenario, I like the image more on Vivo, but I like that Xiaomi has 5 times smaller file sizes. Let's see some shadow noise performance, especially I am curious about Sony APS-C camera. Here we can see that Oppo is a lot more tolerant to noise, while Vivo tries to fight the noise on the computational RAW, and Xiaomi is somewhere in the middle. While I am not blown away by APS-C performance, I feel like smartphone computational RAW photography beats old conventional budget cameras, even APS-C. But not by a mile, I will say, but still, this is pathetic Sony. Here we can clearly see that Oppo gives you more saturation out of the box, while you want to add more on Vivo and Xiaomi, and especially on Vivo. But I feel like colors are very flexible, you can push and pull saturations very high. Remember, we are looking at smartphones with teeny tiny sensors, while Sony uses APS-C. Once again, all the settings are the same on all of this RAW and on the Sony as well. Unfortunately, Sony lost focus here, but we still can see noise levels. One more, shadow noise performance. All the settings are the same. Look at the noise levels of the Sony APS-C camera. I really do not see any reason why would I take old budget cameras even for RAW photography. This does not make sense for me. The same goes for colors. I tried my best to push and pull it. We have lots of flexibility. I was experimenting, I tried to push and pull saturation levels, vibrance, color mixture. I tried my best to break it. And I really could not tell that I was working with smartphone RAW files. If you gave me these files blindly, I will never realize that it was smartphone but not some APS-C camera. Really. Settings are not the same here, I just played with vibrance, saturation and color mixture tabs, trying to break it. But I was really pleased. These smartphones can replace conventional camera for you. If you just want to try photography, you are a beginner, or you are even enthusiast or someone who wants to take small camera on vacation with you. Let's compare some results. If I spent a little bit more time, I could even make them similar, but I only tried to make subtle changes. Slight contrast levels, highlights, shadows, nothing major. As you can see, they all look natural, no overprocessing. You have tons information to work with. Some portraits? It is very hard for me to recommend you anything because all of them look good, all of them look natural. Just want to point out that Vivo will give you all color signs, no matter what, while on Xiaomi you can only use Leica Vibrant if you want to use 8K resolution. I'm very pleased with the results. All of them are very strong, but Xiaomi can give you smaller file sizes and try to be accurate with highlights. Try to lower down exposure compensation. Look how nice it is. We are comparing RAW files with conventional camera and expensive lens, and they are equal. This is so cool. I wish it will force companies like Canon, Sony, Panasonic to bring computational photography and actually give you something nice with good build quality. Because on smartphones you are still getting very good highlights performance, shadow noise performance and even details. Sony lost focus. Why would I need conventional camera? Please tell me. Why do I need budget conventional camera? This does not make sense right now. Only if you are enthusiast and you enjoy process of changing lenses, of rotating some rings and so on, and this kind of jazz. Maybe you will get better contrast levels in some situations like this, when sun is somewhere behind the trees, but still, you can just play with contrast and dehaze in the Photoshop. And of course, photography will be forever in my heart. I want to buy some full frame. I sold my Canon 5D Mark II some time ago. I sold my A7 III some time ago and bought the V10. I was very tired of bulky setups, and right now I don't know what to buy. So I enjoy the experience from these phones. I love RAW files. You can manipulate them the way you like. Colors, they are very flexible. I love the results. I love flexibility of colors, especially if you buy photography kit for Xiaomi or Vivo. Maybe there is something on the market for Oppo as well, but it is very strong pocketable solution for fun, street photography, for vacation. And please, photographers, do not hate me, but even for some paid works, I can easily make the whole wedding on any of these cameras. I'm very thrilled what future will bring, and very patient to see the next move from conventional camera manufacturers. Something tells me that we won't see any changes from them. Maybe they will go bankrupt and some smartphone manufacturers will buy them out. And we will see next logical step as a combination of smartphones plus conventional cameras. Maybe some cooperations with Vivo, Xiaomi and Canon, Sony, who knows. We will see mirrorless cameras but with smartphone operating systems on Android. That will be cool, but sadly there is a second option where we will see paid subscription for autofocus lenses, for faster apertures and some basic features of conventional cameras. Because remember, BMW pushed paid subscription for seat heaters inside cars, and now they even push paid subscription on cars' headlights. This is pure insanity, but of course I want to believe in the bright future. Future where technology, humanity and nature cooperating with each other. So after this review, my final thoughts on the photo cameras. I feel like all these phones are great. You won't regret buying any of this. Oppo tries to give you soft look with subtle results. Vivo tries to give you as much processing as possible while still trying to preserve natural look. And Xiaomi is somewhere in the middle, but sometimes give you some funky stuff in the shadow areas and some artifacts. Portraits. I still feel like Oppo is king, but in some situations I preferred Vivo. And AI retouching is unmatched on Vivo. Xiaomi is not far behind. I really loved Leica authentic look, but sometimes we get artifacts and glitches. This worries me. Aerial and landscapes, cityscapes. I enjoyed Vivo in most situations. Even though in some zoom shots Oppo was more natural, I feel like Vivo is more versatile. Xiaomi is somewhere in the middle, but problems with optical stabilization worries me. You sometimes can have movement in shot. The same with macro photography. It was a lot easier to track the subject on Vivo, while on Xiaomi, even if it felt like it locked on subject, but following it was not an easy task, as well as finding focus on extra small objects. Oppo is kinda mediocre in macro, not bad, but not great either. At night I feel like Vivo is king, while both Oppo and Xiaomi has some downsides. Moving subjects are not the greatest. Maybe I can give it for Xiaomi, but I feel like smartphones has a long way for fast-moving subject. I suggest to use Pro mode with computational RAW or even normal RAW with half resolution. 4K image is more than enough. RAW photography, I feel like all phones has some downsides, but both Xiaomi and Vivo give you similar experience. Processed JPEGs on top, but only Vivo allows you to choose different color profile in computational RAW. But Xiaomi's file sizes are 4 times smaller. I will say pick the least evil here. For the RAW files itself, I am impressed. It felt like I was using good APS-C camera, but not a smartphone. It can easily beat DSLRs from Canon like 550D, 1000D, and even some full frames like 5D Mark I. Noise level is good, colors are very flexible, highlights are not clipping. I did not feel like I am using RAW files from a smartphone walkie-talkie. I am seriously impressed right now. From time and time again, I see how new phones completely destroys the need for me to own any APS-C camera, and even raise a question: do I really need something like full frame with set of lenses that weighs more than 3 kilos in the back, just to go and have fun on the streets and vacations? I feel like these smartphones made budget camera market completely obsolete for general public and even large portion of enthusiasts. I want to see never seen on this planet before innovations in modern cameras to justify spending $2,000+ for these devices. I am selling 90% of my camera gear right now because this is just useless for me, and will wait until modern mirrorless camera market grow into something new. Some AI features. Phones can trace and remove objects. Xiaomi is one of the best in this regard. Remove and change sky, have some audio summarizations features, but I wish we have more. I need fully trained, uncensored, unshackled AI assistant that is fully local, with local machine learning models that can have access to internet without going to corporation servers. Just put second SSD storage inside phone, just for that. Imagine what 1 TB AI assistant can do on local machine. So, AI features are nothing impressive here. Pretty much how on almost any modern phones. For now, I only see Apple moving in this direction, but still, not where I want. Video capabilities. Vivo and Xiaomi can shoot both in 8K 30 as well as 4K 120 fps, but only Xiaomi gives 1080p 480, 1000 and 2000 frames per second modes. Vivo and Xiaomi has its own logs, but I like to use side app called MC Pro 24 fps. You can watch my video how to set up it. I find results to be the best and most pleasing. Xiaomi is the best in this app. It has optical plus digital tape on all models, while Vivo for now uses only optical. But this small pocketable gimbal can equalize everything. For now, for some reason, Oppo has very limited support. But again, gimbal can help a lot. Let's test image quality, stabilization and sound. Xiaomi is constantly going out of focus. I have to tap on the screen with my hands. ultra wide lens. Ooh. What is the sound quality when I'm speaking directly into the phones? Main sensor. I am speaking behind the cameras. Whew. What you think? This is main 1-inch sensors. I'm speaking directly into the cameras. What is the picture quality? What is the sound quality? And one more time. How is the microphones on these devices when I am behind the camera? This is telephoto modules. How do you like the sound on the Oppo? How do you like the sound on the Vivo? And how is the sound on Xiaomi phone? This is front selfie camera. Who is doing the best? Oh. Once again, how is the sound of these phones? Whew. How is the microphone of the Vivo? Is it good? How is the microphone of the Oppo? Is it acceptable? And how are those microphones inside Xiaomi phone? This is 4K 60 in the late evening. I am behind the camera. What do you think about the sound of the Oppo Find X7 Ultra? And what do you think about sound quality of the Vivo X100 Ultra? And maybe you find quality of the Xiaomi 14 Ultra better, who knows? This is ultra wide. .7 on Vivo, 3.2 on Xiaomi, and 3 on Oppo. This is main 1-inch sensor at evening. What do you think about microphone quality of the Oppo Find X7 Ultra and now of the Vivo X100 Ultra and now Xiaomi 14 Ultra? Nighttime selfie. How is the sound quality? Oppo Find X7 Ultra, Vivo X100 Ultra and Xiaomi 14 Ultra. Why do they always have to call it Ultra? Something is wrong with white balance on Vivo. Or maybe Vivo loves blue nights. This is main 1-inch sensors. How is the sound quality? Oppo Find X7 Ultra, Vivo X100 Ultra and Xiaomi 14 Ultra. Ambient sounds, microphone quality. Can you spot any difference? How is my voice when I'm speaking directly into these cameras of modern era? But I feel like smartphones have long way in terms of video quality. For some reason, manufacturers still do not get it. They do exceptionally photos. Videos are just not yet. By the way, you can suggest what you want to see in terms of video. Maybe you want to see specific examples. Alright, let's finish it. And slow motion. Conclusions. The first time I saw results from the portrait mode on Oppo, I was speechless. Second time I saw results from this large telephoto sensor from Vivo, I realized smartphone photography will never be the same. This is the breaking point in not only phone market, but mirrorless camera market as well. I can confidently say this is not just phones, but real cameras with smartphones attached to them. It is a shame for the $2,000 conventional cameras to be beaten by $1,000 walkie-talkies. Camera market needs to change and bring computational photography as soon as possible. While I can easily recommend any of these phones for you, they all have lots of strong points and downsides, like everything in this virtual game that we call life. For now, my soul leans towards Vivo. Some of its features outweigh it for me, but please try to test these devices in person, because my personal and subjective choices can be different for you. Also, for now I am pleased with Vivo, but my quest for the perfect future smartphone from different planet is only starting. I will make a 2.0 video about it in the near future. Thanks for watching and have a very extraterrestrial day, my friends.